This episode is sponsored by Shutterstock.com. With over 20 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 30% off, head on over to Shutterstock.com and use offer code GAMEBREAKER7. This episode is also brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to receive a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, chat room, everybody? Ready for tonight? It's Thursday night, it's Legendary night. What's happening? What's happening? What the F is up, everybody? It's Thursday. It's 8 o'clock on the PST. It's Legendary. I'm Gary Gannon. You're coming up on tonight's show. We got the Timeless Isles here, proving Garons are in, and Legendary makes the Blizz back down again. All that and more, but first, joining us from WoW Insider Zaman right here on GetBigger.tv. With her best friend, Scotch, it's Olivia DeGrace. What's up, Liv?
Hi. Scotch is up.
Scotch.
Scotch.
You have to do that. It's like mandatory. You mentioned Scotch and you have to do the Anchorman thing, you know. What kind of Scotch are you drinking there tonight?
I am drinking a Scotch Malt Whiskey Society single cask. It's an light Isla. So kind of smoky, kind of woody. It's good.
Ooh, nice.
Good Scotch.
Good.
It's also
Sounds
very
good.
strong Scotch. In American terms, I think it's like 130 proof.
Wow.
I don't even know. I'm actually a big Scotch drinker, but I don't really look at the alcohol content because it makes me feel sad.
Yeah,
so
I do because it makes me more cautious.
I just drink it, you know, but I don't want to feel like more of an alcoholic. No, I'm not. But sure. Hang on.
Scotch. What have you got there?
I'm drinking a Mongo IPA this evening.
Nice.
Which I have to say, if we started a beer review show,
We should start some kind of...
this would be my go-to favorite beer that is easy to get on the market. This is by Port Brewing. It is called Mongo. It is an IPA, and it is not 130 proof. Let's see what it is. It is 8.5.
the best for a beer, though. If a beer is 100...
It is 8.5, and it's a 22. So if I finish this by the end of the show, I might fall over.
Let's see.
But I might have. It doesn't really matter because I might have staff, and you know how that goes. So,
right.
I might not make it to the end of the show. Hey, what's up, Pat Crane?
Hi. How are you?
You back from all your travels?
Yeah,
You've been on holidays since we last saw you.
I'm back in town. I'm just hanging out. Just me and the gang back here.
Spooky monkeys. Yeah.
By the way, Spooky Monkey, right there. Look at that. Spooky
Wow,
monkey.
you really do love a spooky monkey, don't you?
I do. I like them a lot. They're great. They're fun.
You have like a monkey fetish? What's going on? Collecting
I don't
monkeys?
know. I have no idea. When I play my hunter, my tanking pet for when I'm soloing and stuff like that is a monkey. I don't know why. I have no idea.
Interesting.
Hey, man.
Monkey.
I won't judge. It's all good.
It throws poop. I mean, what could be better than that?
Who doesn't want to really throw poop in real life? Do you know I've actually seen someone in real life throw poop at other people?
Ooh.
What? Really?
Wow.
I shouldn't even admit that I've actually seen this person. If you Google, his name is Gigi Allen. He has since passed away. He's an old punk rock dude. Gigi was an interesting individual. And
was it at a gig? Was it at a music gig?
Yeah, it was at a concert.
Wow.
I actually saw Gigi Allen live. For people out there who know who that is, they're going to be like, I can't believe you saw him live because it's kind of an experience. Yeah, he, I don't know, he came on stage and he had cowboy boots, a jock strap, and that was about it on. He came on stage, he repeatedly punched himself in the face till he bled. Then he proceeded to poop on stage and throw it at the audience. And that was the concert.
That sounds like a hardcore show.
It's kind of your cue to leave when the act starts throwing poo at you. That's kind of when you go.
You know, it's pretty dangerous. Pretty dangerous living. You know, it's like one part art.
Right.
Wow, that is pretty. Yeah.
People are like, "Who?"
Conversation's already off the rails.
Yeah, that was back in New York when New York was actually like New York. Bad part of town. What the hell was I doing here? What were my parents doing? They should have had more control over me. I don't know where I ended up.
Right. Like this young guy going, "Oh yeah, well, how was the concert, son? Oh, it was cool, Dad. This guy used to poop at me."
He used to start riots all the time. I was at another one, and he played a squat, which was basically an abandoned building.
So you went back after they threw poo at you? You went back for bring on the poo. Yeah. This is what I want from a gig.
I'm like an ex-punk rock dude. Like I used to go to punk rock shows, and they would be like at abandoned buildings back in the day. They weren't at like concerts. They were like literally like an abandoned building, got a generator, and people played. And I don't know. He came wailing out with forget it. He started chasing the entire crowd with a ladder, and I mean literally just bashing people down. I mean I've seen people like just be bleeding. It's just all right. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know you were here.
It happens.
Thought it was just the three of us.
Yeah, just hanging out, talking about music.
Yep.
That's kind of crazy stuff.
Alrighty, let's talk about some World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay.
Pretty interesting week.
Right.
Sure.
Fine.
Sure. Everybody's like, wow, we waited long enough. We waited 4 minutes for that ridiculous story. Talk about WoW. So first up this week, we have to talk about hats. Yes, hats. If you weren't aware, Blizzard put 3 cosmetic hats, monocles, hats, on the battle.net store. So these hats have no stats on them at all. They're purely for transmog, and the tooltip literally just says cosmetic. That's all it says. So there's I think we got a little vid here. Turn this down. I'm gonna play this. So we've got there's the Crown of Eternal Winter. Oh, look at that, an Audible ad. Love Audible.
Audible ad, hooray! That was
We're gonna get to that later in the show. Audible, just hang out. I'll leave you there. So there's a Crown of Eternal Winter, the Hood of Hungering Darkness, and the Jewel of the Fire Lord. They're bind on account. They are not plate, leather, nor cloth. So anyone can wear these hats. They're made for everyone. And they cost $15. And I do not mean as a bundle of 3. I mean one hat costs $15.
It's an expensive fedora. It really is.
Can I call this like Blizzard's monocle? If people get that joke, like that's so EVE Online put out something on the shop and they put a monocle on there and it was $80. That's a little bit more drastic, but $15 a hat? What?
Yeah.
Come on, really? How did that like in a board? I mean, is it just like like somebody made some graph and they were just like, what's reasonable? I don't know, 3, 5. But we've run all the numbers and the math says we can extract $15 out of their pockets. It's kind of like stealing, but it's not. We're really giving them something.
What's the absolute most you would consider paying for a hat? What would you like to pay? Like $3.
I would pay like $3.
Where would you stop? Like how high? Okay, let's use that number.
These hats they're okay. I'd pay like 3 to 5, but it would have to like for 6. It would have to like fucking morph and like do something really cool, like kind of like
Actually,
right.
One of them does the blue one, the Crown of Eternal Winter that has like it's like a crown, and then it's got this sort of skull, sort of face covering thing that kind of appears and then goes away again.
It's
and then
not really doing it for me.
And then goes away again.
It's kind of cool. I don't know if it's $15 worth of cool, but it's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, really. Yeah, you can see it there. So that's it with the skull up, and then it'll go away again.
You know,
I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, obviously, I'm completely neutral on this subject, and I have no opinion whatsoever on this. So,
never.
What do you guys think about this price point? I mean,
Well, I actually think that this might actually be a good thing that it's $15 because people were so worried about, like needing this helm, and then they said $15, and people went, no, not going to do it. And so they've for a lot of people they've priced themselves out of the market. And so this might actually be a good thing if people are worried about the store, kind of taking over and where does it all end. This could be a moment where Blizzard comes back and says, oh, you know what, $15 was too much. We're sorry. And then they come back and then they say, well, how about 15 for all three? And then people would be like, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
if they had said 15 for all three, I think all of us would just be like, oh, okay. It even seems slightly maybe high, but that seems like a pretty good package.
It seems okay.
Yeah.
It seems okay. I mean, pets are 10 and mounts are 25, right? Is that the way that it goes? So, I mean, I think a helm being 15 seems on the wrong side of the pet. It seems like it should be more like $5, 5 to 10, and then $10 for the pet, and then 25 for the mount. That seems to be right to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to me like it should be.
I don't know. Go ahead, Liv.
Oh, I want to hear Liv, but I've already seen chat room, but I just want to talk about this before it passes me up, but I've already seen people in chat room going, like, I already paid $15 a month on a sub. Right. They should be free. Right. I don't know. Go ahead, Liv.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, I feel like they should be, I don't know, because the trouble I'm having is they're £10 or €12. So I'm trying to, like, convert and think, well, what, I would pay £3 to £5 for it. And the pets are £10 here. And I think the mounts are like 15 or 20. And, like, just to have that being more than a pet, a thing that you can actually, like, combat pets, a thing you can actually use and fight with rather than just have following you around. It just seems a little bit crazy. It just seems weird to me. I don't understand where this number. Obviously, it's probably they wouldn't have just gone 50.
Let's pull this out of pulling it out of the
handful
sky.
Of darts.
I'm trying to think back. I'm trying to think back. I'm trying to think back of how it really felt when we first saw mounts at 25. Did we think that was crazy? Did we think that we kind of thought that was crazy? Didn't we? Maybe they could. So I'm wondering if it's the same thing. We're just not used to it, and it's like you're just not psychologically used to it. It's going to be expensive, and more of these will keep coming. I don't know. People are saying really good things in the chat room. Somebody mentioned, Guild Wars 2, just around $4 get you a full set of armor.
Right.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah,
interesting comparison, Blizzard.
I know that people are kind of concerned, especially when it comes to subs and stuff like that. Subs versus the cash store, and to those people I have the question of, how do you feel about the TCG? I understand it may not be exactly the same thing. How do you understand about the TCG loot, and how do you feel about pets and mounts being sold in the store? That was kind of the predecessor for the helms, and now all of a sudden people are crying out again, and it just seems it's not that I don't understand it just seems like it's a little bit late for a lot more of kind of the same thing to me anyway. And I understand your problem, but at the same point, these things don't get you anything. They don't get you stats.
No.
It's just cool looks. So.
Which, I know, it's obvious a lot of players are willing to spend real world money on just cool stats, like just no stats, just cool cosmetic gear. I didn't even, and for the people out there who, I forgot this, somebody in chat room just posted it. I didn't even mention that, yes, if you haven't played Guild Wars 2, there's also no sub on that game. So, yeah. So
it's worth pointing that out. It is that's kind of the key division here between those two games.
I don't know. I think there's a ton of rage on the forums. I mean, people are just going crazy.
Oh my God. There's all the rage. There is all the rage on the forums about the price. I don't actually know whether the EU forums are worse than the US ones. I've been trying to gauge the difference in the rage levels. I think the EU ones, if anything, are actually slightly ragier, which is uncharacteristic in general for the EU forums.
You're less
more ragey ones. We're generally less ragey. But I think it's because we're more rapey. The price point here is sort of above a sort of major hurdle in sort of like your mental idea of price. Like $9.99, people will probably be like, wow, that's pricey. But where it's €12, that's just gone over like multiple of 10 break, and that's just like making people insane.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if they were even like $10 here, like if they were 10, I think we would be going, oh, that's a little overpriced, but we wouldn't be flipping around. 15 just seems like completely like out of control. Like it's like you might as well have gone for the Rolls Royce of helms and charged like $99 and just been like, it's ridiculously overpriced. If you're gonna buy it, just buy it and you'll have it, and you'll be one of very few of the elite who have it.
Yeah, and at least you get it like you get it on all your characters. It works just like a pet, so it comes into your mailbox as an item, and you sort of you take it out of your mailbox and you've got it in your bag. And actually, that's another thing that people have been complaining about, saying, "Oh, it takes up bag space." It's like, well, what did you expect them to do with it? What did you think that it would just be a drop-down menu in the transport screen?
Right.
What were you thinking it would happen? It has to be an item, but yeah, so you do at least get it on all your characters. But yeah, I'm not buying
thanks,
that.
Blizz. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not buying it as an
Thanks for
argument.
that. Thanks for that perk.
The really funny thing is that since these helms came out, people were like, you know what? I don't even want these helms. Can we just get 100 slot bags for us to just walk around with? I would pay for 100 slot bag.
I would pay for a 100 slot bag. Oh my god, I would pay more than. If you're listening, Blizzard, I would pay far more than $15 for a 100 slot bag.
I think it's all coming.
Also, invisible shoulders.
It's all coming. Week by week, the faucet is opening rather quickly on these items. It's not going to stop.
Do I dare to say the SS, the slippery slope? I'm going to punch in the face.
Yes.
Let's go now.
Well, they're going down the slippery slope, and they've already slipped. This is a slip. This is a big slip up. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Pat? I think the rage on the forums is completely warranted. I think it's okay. I think they have a point.
I understand it. Trust me. I really do get that people don't want this to become a pay for stuff mentality with Blizzard, and I don't think that they necessarily will, especially if they put it at that $15 price point, because that will dissuade people from buying. Although I do know somebody that has bought all three.
What?
Already.
Really? I'm disappointed in that person. I am disappointed in that person.
Right. But then I've also talked to like lots of guildies and stuff like that, and they're saying, if it was $5, maybe I would do it, but at 15, nope, it's out of my league. And I don't know. Other than that one person, I think one other person said that they were interested in one of the helms. And I mean, it's a small sample, of course, but.
It's a small sample, but I think I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think the majority of players are not just like, oh yeah, whatever, 15. I thought they were going to be like 35. Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Like, do you really think anyone is surprised that these are cheap? Does anyone think they're cheap? Chat room? What?
No.
Does anyone think these are cheap?
Even the people. I'm sure even the people who bought them have a decent amount of money, or they have a huge addiction, or they were just super psyched.
I bought one to do a video, and I was mad. I was really angry with myself for the rest of the day. I logged onto WoW this evening my time, so like 7 p.m. my time, so like 12 hours ago or something ridiculous, and logged onto Raid with the hat still with my chamois still transmogged into the hat, and my guild were like, "What did you do? What?
What did you do?
Pay for that?
What did you do?
Did you pay for that hat, Olivia Grace? Did you pay?"
So now you're catching shit from your guildies because you spend money.
Because they're like saying, well, you shouldn't be buying it because you should be like
boycotting it.
Conscientiously objecting to this by not paying.
Is there a boycott? Can we sign a petition to boycott?
By the way, there was actually something that somebody sent me on Twitter from the EU forums. That's right, from the EU forums, that was talking about how somebody who was wearing one of these helms got kicked from an LFR because they were wearing one of these helms.
That is awesome.
EU side. The EU are freaking out.
I thought you were going to say that like they curb stomped them. Like there's going to be like riots going on.
Well, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, seeing one of the helms just kind of lit the fuse in LFR, and people just started going off, and they ended up kicking the guy. And this is like behavior that is dissuading people from going and getting these helms. That and the price point and just kind of everything else that goes along with it. I mean, there are a lot of things in 5.4 and that we've seen coming out in before 5.4 that are very divisive and emotional for people that play this game. It's craziness right now.
This is like the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman trial. People are just going nuts. They're raging. They're going to like riot in the streets. Forget IRL.
Insane.
We got to bring After Dark back and go march through the streets of Azeroth. That's what I think we need to do. We need to. All right. We need a million no-man march. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go boycott it.
We're going to crash every server. And then they're going to ban my account and I'm going to be sad.
Exactly. No, it is insane. It's like if someone actually genuinely got kicked from LFR for no reason other than they had their hat transformed into one of these. Wow, Europe. Wow. I mean,
all of Europe.
Wow, the entire continent of Europe.
See, this is when I wish Eventually someday they're going to get it, but this is when Blizzard needs to get, because I'm watching, there's Blizzard peeps in the chat room live right now. This is when it would be amazing if you guys, like a news organization, we could dial you in right now and somebody could get on here and literally talk to us about this and actually explain it, because maybe there's some explanation behind it, and I think we need one. So
yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that I was kind of noticing too, was that, I mean, when we talked about these hats that were coming out, we didn't necessarily have all of the information right away. And I understand that they want to, you know, get people used to the idea before announcing a price point and all that kind of stuff. But it would have been nice to say, okay, here's everything. We're just going to lay this out because we know that this is going to be a pretty divisive thing for people, and it's going to cause a lot of argument. And so we've seen it with flex rating. You know, there became, when flex rating was announced, there became this big argument between flex rating and LFR. That's not really an argument, by the way. They're both still going to be around, so it's not like a thing, you know. But
it's like a Sharks and the Jets. It's like West Side Story.
Exactly, but it started this big, huge conversation. Not really a conversation.
Not really.
And not really. And you know, we're seeing it again now with the store, and so it would be nice to have kind of almost more information. More information would be better in cases like this, where you know that it's going to be like this big argument.
I'm looking at this right now, and WoW hats is trending higher than Sharknado right now. So
Sharknado's awesome.
I know. I'd love to hear some of the reasoning behind it. I'd love to see, like, were they just really intensive on the art? I honestly think,
you know, like even if the answer is legitimately like, look, the whole cash shop store is somewhat new to us with more items. Yeah, we've done some mounts and stuff like that, but we don't know where to price this stuff, and we're literally going to test the waters and see, and we don't know.
Right.
And the thing is, I get
out of a hat.
Well, here's the problem, because if you do think about this, like think about the dilemma for a second and put yourself, there's a fly in here, it's driving me effing crazy. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. If you price it too low, and like you can't really go up, right? You can't go up from there. You can't be like, oh, these were $5, and then you're like, oh my god, all these people bought it, man. We should have done 7 or 8, and then that would be even more rage. So you got to start high and then kind of feel out the whole thing and kind of pull it down. So if they came in and said, hey guys, you know, we did this thing and it was 15, and you guys voiced your opinion, and we know it's not really, you know, a right price, we're going to go to 10, and maybe we'll give you guys an in-game thing or another hat to the people who bought it or something like that.
Right, exactly.
More hats.
You're going to definitely have to compensate the people who bought the hats at the regular price point, especially if they bought all 3. Then you're going to have to be like, oh, well, we're going to give you guys, I guess we're going to give you a mount or something.
They can give them just credit on the store, because to be completely honest, the most recent mounts have kind of sucked. So, like, they should give them credit on the store or something along those lines. But I know, I mean, definitely they can come down. I'd be really surprised if they did that, though. I think it would be more a case of any future things that we put on the store, we won't price at this level.
Sure.
But then, you know, we don't know. Maybe actually, although, like, I'm the only person I've seen on EU servers with one of these hats. I've seen a few other people on US servers.
Apparently,
but maybe they're selling really well.
One other person on LFR who apparently got kicked.
There's one other person in the EU that had it on.
He has not been seen since wearing his helmet. I'll tell you that. That thing is.
Yeah, or it was me. I got kicked from LFR for wearing one of the hats. It was me. I'm the one person who's bought one in the entire.
How lame is that? You just spent $15 on this. You just spent $15 on this awesome helmet. You got kicked, and you're like, man, I'm totally being discriminated against because I bought this awesome helmet. I can't even wear it.
I feel bad for the guy.
I feel bad for the guy. If that was genuinely like, if he wasn't doing something ridiculously appalling, and they were like, oh, and he's wearing a hat, which, to be honest, that seems a little bit more likely than, dude, look at that guy wearing a hat. Boat kick.
He's wearing a hat.
Great.
All right.
Well, and I think it's funny because when Mike and I went to Blizzard a couple of weeks ago, we were let in on kind of that some transmog gear might be coming up, and of course now we find out that it's the helms, and that's great. You know, that's fine. That's what it is. Yeah. And they also said that, you know, this is going to be a slow process. They are not one to experiment just experiment and then go, okay, we're just going to open up the floodgates and go.
Right. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna cut in when we get like official words here. From somebody at Blizzard, official statement. I'll say this much. I hate that I'm doing this. We're watching feedback very closely. This is something very new for us, and we're listening. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, so right.
You're listening. They're fucking too expensive. Yeah. There's no one out there going to fight me on this one. No one is going to have an argument with me and say that these things are too cheap or they're priced right.
Even the people who've bought them have probably sort of gone, but I really like it. Like they've sort of gone, oh, that is a bit steep, but I really like it. I mean, of course, like it doesn't affect your gameplay if someone else buys a hat. Like, you know, like there is no negative impact on you apart from them being in your LFR and you're having to look at their hat and have their wealth rubbed in your face. But it's like, you know, there's no actual negative impact.
That's why I always go to the $100 thing, right? Because I'm like, if you want that thing to like really rub in everyone's face, then just do it. Like I've always said I'm waiting for a game, and I really am, because someone is going to do this in an MMO. They're gonna sell an item for like $1,000, like something. And you know what? I'm all for that. Like if somebody really wants to just spend that $1,000 and walk around with that sword where you're just like rubbing it in their face, sure, let them do it. This is in that weird like extortion kind of feeling, like you're just like dirty. It's like I can kind of afford this, but I'm uncomfortable spending this much money, and it's like I know it's not worth
it's not that line where you're just sort of like, can I really afford that? So wasn't the Neverwinter Founders Pack? The Neverwinter Founders Pack was like a like you could go up to ridiculous sums of money with that.
Yeah, it was like 20, 40, and like 250, and it was like, hey, if you want to go here, just go for it.
You want to go in, just go hard or go home. But
and we would, and no, I don't think anyone would be like, you know, yelling about it. I would be seriously, if it was like if it was like $200 helmet, I would just be, all right, it's crazy. Like they're going for this like prestige thing.
Yeah, then it's so high up. Then it is crazy.
It's too gray.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of. But what we're not, I tell you what we're not. Just quickly, what we're not saying is price the next set of hats at $200. That's what we're not saying. Just for clarity.
I'll say that. I'm totally. That's fine. Do that.
But can you imagine if, like, what if they bring in, like, what if they bring in shoulders and chests and legs and boots and gloves that are all $15 a time? That would be insane.
It's weird and stuff like. But just know that, I mean, like what Laura said in chat, I mean, they are watching, and so if you do not buy this, they will pay attention to that, and they will modify their strategy.
Boycott. We need
they will
banners.
figure it out. Or if everybody buys it,
then
they will say, okay, we need
to march.
And placards.
We need to take to Azeroth and march. Sorry, if I wasn't afraid they'd ban my account, I would do it.
we definitely need some kind of protest, some kind of official protest against the price of the hat. It's insane.
It is insane. All right, can we move on?
It is insane. It's too much.
Do you think we should move on?
No.
Is that enough about hats?
Sure.
I don't know. I think there are still other hat items.
There's lots of hat talk, probably.
More hat talk.
There's a ton to talk about.
Yeah.
Let me talk about Audible. Got to stop for sponsors. I love Audible. I'm super psyched about this week's book that I'm going to talk about.
Do they sell hats?
No, they sell audiobooks, Liv. They're pretty damn good at it. And they're pretty
sell
affordable.
Audiobooks about hats.
They're actually, I'm sure there are.
Actually, I bet they do.
Yeah.
So many books on Audible, I bet they do.
The price point is pretty spot on. If people haven't tried it, it'll be a free. How about free?
Yeah, whoa, now that's the price point. I bet there's books on Audible about price points and setting thereof. Maybe we should buy one for Blizzard.
There actually is a really good one. You know what? There's a really good book. Let's see. Before I get to this one, Seth Godin's Tribes, I think, is a good one. That's a really good one, talking about groups of people, tribes of people, and setting price points. Talks about it a lot. It's pretty interesting. Maybe I should send the copy over to the Blizzard HQ because they need it.
I think they need it.
There you go.
Check it out. I want to hook you guys up. Go to audible.com/gamebreaker. That's the URL you want to use. Got to use that URL. Sign up. Make an account. You're going to get to use Audible free for 30 days and try it out. And we're going to give you one free audiobook. And I have not started listening to this yet, but it is nonstop. I'm so excited. Downloaded it, but this is nonstop. I don't know if you guys have either of you guys read this? Ready Player One?
I have it on my phone right now, actually, for Audible.
Because I mean, my buddy the other night, like just hanging out, he just started reading it, and he's like, "You have to read this." He's like, gamers love this book. Like there's so much like MMO virtual world culture and it's narrated by Will Wheaton. So more nerd cred. Here, I'm going to actually play a little sample here for you.
Aired on your channel and who you allowed to view it were entirely up to you. Most users chose to run a voyeur channel, which was like being the star of your own 24-hour reality show. Hovering virtual cameras would follow your avatar around the oasis as you went about your day-to-day activities.
All right, can I just stop there? He's talking about avatars and virtual reality and live streaming.
Yeah. There's
Do I
lots
need
of
to say
80s
more?
references. There's lots of 80s references as well, but it's all about this big, huge, essentially MMO world. It's really, really cool. It's actually what's really funny is like to find this actually in paperback is actually really hard right now. Like it's not in actual it's a contemporary sci-fi book that they're already calling a classic, and this blew me away. So after my buddy told me, look at the ratings on this thing, 6,677 ratings, and it's got a 4.7 out of 5.
Wow,
it's a great book. It really is.
It's a good book.
Yeah, check it out. Well, that could be one of yours for free. All you got to do, go over to audible.com/gamebreaker. Like I said, make an account. And it's audiobooks. So you download the app, you put it on your iPhone, your iOS, your Android, whatever you got. They got the apps for both. And you can download Ready Player One or anything else you choose. I think there may be a few restrictions in there on like some books that are like, gajillion hours or something. I don't know if they are considered.
I don't know about that. Actually, some of the books I've got on there because I kind of like all the sort of the classic stuff. There's books on there that are fully, days long, which are within the credits. There's tons of stuff on there.
Yeah, it's how they credit them. So there's a credit system. So a lot of people ask, like, how does it work after that? So it's a free 30-day trial, and then after it's a subscription-based model where, you pay in a monthly fee, and I've been a subscriber forever. But they give you credits per month depending on what tier you want. You use the credits to buy books. So, like, I look forward to it every month. I'm like, oh, it's the first of the month. I got my credits. I can go get books.
I got my new book. Got a new book
exactly.
So no microtransactions.
That is how it works. I've been a subscriber forever, so check it out. Audible.com/Gamebreaker, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, narrated by Will Wheaton. I will follow up on this one, and we will talk about it some more as I get into it.
I'm going to have to get it. I'm going to have to get it. It's a credit. I got a credit for June, which I haven't actually used yet because I will still have so much leftover book stuff.
Yeah,
I've been listening to TED lectures, actually. There's a ton of good TED lectures on there.
Oh, yeah.
Those as well. There's a ton of good free content. Like, they're completely free. So you can just go on there and download the TED lectures on like gaming and gaming psychology. Just be a bit of a gaming nerd.
Maybe send some
like
of those
none
to
of us.
Blizzard.
Yes, those to Blizzard about the psychology of price points and hats.
All right, let's move on. There is a ton to talk about. We haven't even scratched the surface on this week's show. So there's two new huge features added to the 5.4 PTR. The Timeless Isle went live literally hours before we started recording this show. So it's been in for a few builds, but you haven't been able to actually get onto the island. There's a ton of new stuff there. There's world bosses, there's pet battle tournaments, there's rares, there's buffs, items, pretty much everything you can think of. Liv, you actually, this is only hours old, but you actually got to check it out today. So what did you actually get to test?
Well, I actually someone messaged me saying it's going live, and I was like, it's starting writing Legendary. I was like, oh wow, really? Okay, well this is going to... Blizzard, could you just stop doing stuff just before Legendary like this? Because my schedule's like...
That's why they do it.
I don't know. I actually love them for it because it's great to have like new exciting things like this to talk about. But yeah, it's like I went on there and it's, I went and killed a ton of rares. I found a jumping puzzle and I did a jumping puzzle. I went and found the world bosses. I found a whole ton of buffs. I found a secret cave. I found a giant shark thing that completely one-shotted me.
Sharknado.
Raid boss. Sharknado.
Yeah, Sharknado, man. That thing is crazy.
Have you seen the shark thing?
Yeah, I saw
that. Swims around the island. It's so did you manage to make it onto there today?
Yeah, I made it onto there today, and I did one of the fights with the Celestials.
Yeah. They're insane.
And that was pretty cool. Actually, I saw a couple of them and got raffle stomped by a couple of them. They're just like insane damage coming out of some of those. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm dead again. Great. Beautiful. Thank you, Blizz.
Thanks, guys. There's an absolute ton of stuff there, and what's really cool about it is that you just seem to find it organically. Like you just sort of poodle around and kill some stuff. And oh god, there was this amazing thing that actually a warrior called Pancake had. And he was it was this thing, and I put a picture of it on Twitter. He told me about it because I whispered to him, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've seen in some time. I rezzed and was in this sort of circle of spikes that had come out of the ground and couldn't get out of it. And more spikes just kept coming up out of the ground. And there was a turtle caught in the middle of them. I was like, oh, this must be associated with the turtle. And then the spikes eventually disappeared. Like, and they were massive spikes. Like if I was the height of my Drene, which I'm not, I'm a short ass, but if I was the height of my Drene, they would have been, you know, I have like 5'7", they would have been like 20-foot high spikes, to give you an idea of the scale.
Wow.
And they were just literally blasting out of the ground every time someone tried to walk out of this ring. And they were controlled by this warrior. And he was just like saying, oh, who wants to go flying? And just blowing people up in the air with these spikes. And he's like, oh, it's an item, it gives you an extra action button, and you can go over here and you can pick it up, you have to kill these guys. And it was literally like the coolest thing. There's so much of that stuff. It's amazing. I'm really impressed. It
sounds like there's a ridiculous amount of cool stuff in here.
Yeah.
Are there ways to get gear? And what do you spend the new currency on?
The new currency, you seem to spend it on, like there's the new currency and the gear method seems to be quite similar. And it's kind of a cool thing because it's a really, if I've understood it correctly, and I believe I have, you get these things which are the timeless, you can get a timeless cloak, timeless coins. They're timeless coins of the currency. So like valor points, like Darkmoon tokens, like the Tolbrad currency, like champion seals, they're like the currency. But you also can get as drops from all the rares, and literally the island is crawling with rares. You can get these things called timeless aeons. I'm trying to remember the actual name of the item. But you get these items, and the item itself that you get, which is a purple item, is eye level 496 and bind on account. So you can then send that item to any of your alts, and they then use that item, and they get a 496 piece of gear tailored to their loot specialization. So you know how you can select your loot specialization. They get an item of a 496 piece of gear tailored to that loot specialization. And I was killing, obviously it's PTR, so drop rates may change, but I was killing rares, and I ended up with like 5 or 6 different, this isn't that footage, 5 or 6 different of these things. And it's so cool. This is the Proving Grounds bit. But yeah, it's I haven't actually got any footage of that yet. But it's so cool. Like you can just send these things to alts and just get gear. It's fantastic. I'm really excited about it. And you can use your currency to buy the same thing from the Quartermaster.
So you're saying you said it's kind of just like this like natural thing that you just kind of like go throughout the world and you sort of find stuff. Is it like, so are there no quests, or is like how?
There's one quest, and basically what it does is it instructs you to go around the island and go look at stuff. And as you're going around and looking at stuff, you're going to be interacting with the island itself and killing stuff and you know, doing other things and trying to figure out exactly everything that's on the island while you're doing it. So that one quest really does bring you kind of around the island and show you what's up and what the goodies are that it holds.
Yeah, definitely. There's literally like you have a breadcrumb quest, which seems to pop up in your mailbag at the moment, which is like a little letter, and then that sends you to the guy who gives you the exploration quest. And then from that point, you're literally, once you've done that exploration quest, which as Pat says, like literally you're left with the island, you're completely sort of left to your own devices. And maybe, like, obviously it went live a few hours ago. There's a faint possibility there may be other stuff to come. This is PTR. But yeah, you're literally just left to your own devices. And it's kind of cool. Like killing rares and just running around murdering stuff and like picking fruit off the branches of trees and doing jumping puzzles, and it's kind of crazy.
Does it feel? It sounds like it. It sounds like I feel like there's like a freshness to it. Like the way you're describing it, you're sort of like it's exciting and it's new and it's kind of something that we haven't really experienced before. Is that like in a reaction like to like maybe hate like dailies and like how they're kind of like?
For me, this is content. This is endgame content designed for whiny players like me. This is for people who don't like questing, which I would freely admit that what am I doing playing MMOs? Okay, I like the endgame, all right, get over it. But I don't like questing. I really, if there's a way to do something that isn't a quest, I will take that route. I leveled my mage from 85 to 90 pretty much by killing rares. And yeah, it took a while, but I did it. But yeah, and it was, you know, that this content is an alternative to daily quests. You're getting lesser charms as well. It's worth pointing that out. You're getting lesser charms for doing these.
Yes.
And you can use the timeless coins to buy Mogu Runes of Fate. And obviously there will be a new, I'm assuming there'll be a new Mogu Rune of Fate come 5.4, but like for the previous tier, you'll be able to buy those from there. And it does seem like an alternative to dailies. Yes.
So I know it's going to be really hard to sort of like kind of encapsulate. This is only hours old, so you don't really have, neither of you had a ton of time with it, but I don't know, from your initial reactions, what's your knee jerk? I mean, do you think content like this will work in World of Warcraft?
Well, the reason that they're doing it is because there was, like Liv was saying, there was a lot of, talk about how there were too many dailies at the beginning of 5.0, especially with Golden Lotus. Well, in 5.4, they are not only they are blowing up the Golden Lotus quest givers, the Golden Pagoda. They are blowing that up, but then they're also doing the Timeless Isle. I think that this is another experiment, if you will, to see how well this goes with people. I think that the Barons was the Baron stuff that's going on right now. That was kind of the predecessor.
Yeah.
And that definitely does have a feeling of dailies without dailies. And so if we're doing Timeless Isle stuff, it's dailies without anything. It's just kind of on your own dailies.
Yeah.
Okay, great. No, actually, I think this could be a lot of fun, especially for those guys that don't like the regimented play of doing dailies all the time.
See, that's the thing. Like this whole concept sounds really cool to me. Like I kind of like this idea, but I don't know. Like World of Warcraft has kind of been set up to really hold your hand the entire way, and I think players are really used to that, right? And even like we talked about Guild Wars 2, and it didn't work perfectly for Guild Wars 2, and I don't know. I just wonder if World of Warcraft players can like wrap their heads around this to like actually like expand this out and have like this kind of be a larger scope of how they deliver content.
I think the other hope might be that we bring more community, more MMO into this MMO game, or more massively multiplayer mode, and you actually have to talk to your neighbors and figure out what's going on. If somebody grabs a rare that's really cool, then they can, exclaim it over the general chat or whatever. Or if people have questions, I'm sure that there's going to be questions. There's going to be some people that don't know what's going on. So there's going to be chat, which could be good. It could be like Baron's chat of old.
Old Baron's chat. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. Like you say, like Guild Wars, I think it was like the early testing on Guild Wars 2, wasn't it, where they had to bring in, and I'm going to get slated because I can't remember, was it the Renown Hearts that they had to bring in? It's been a while since I went to Guild Wars 2, but the sort of quest hub style things, they brought in some of those in the areas. I can't remember what it was. The chat room will tell me in a second that I was wrong, probably. But so will the WoW player feel that they actually need a bit more guidance, that they need a bit more of a shove in the right direction than a quest that just takes you around the island and then sort of go from there? But I think it's really cool. I don't know. The only thing I'm wondering is whether it's going to there are people out there who like daily quests, and maybe there should be, I don't know, some options for them. I'm so hesitant because I don't want to see this turn into a daily hub. I don't want daily questing to become the efficient way to do this.
I hate dailies so much. I hate to be hesitant and say that should be for them. She's like, I just want to rip them out from the game, pull out all the code, don't ever give them to me again.
Just take the whole lot out. I would take the whole lot out, definitely 100%. But I don't know whether it's going to need to be a bit more handholdy. But I think it's really cool. Like the cool thing at the moment on the Throne of Thunder, the Isle of Thunder, is, and I don't know whether this happens on every server or just the servers that I'm on, where people will say, oh, Goda's up, and they'll put it into chat, and they'll say Goda's up, and then a bunch of people will go and kill Goda, and then a bunch of people will go and kill one of the twirly dudes down by the seashore, and there's a ton of that going on. So this guy's up, and then people, because of the way the rares are constructed, where you've got this tap to everybody system, which by the way isn't in the Timeless Isle at the moment. I'm assuming that's an oversight, but I'm sure they'll bring that in. And it'll become, much more like that, where people will be like, oh, this one's up, and everyone can run over and just get a shot in on it and get some cool stuff of it. And I think there's definitely areas, like for example, the area where the warrior was telling me you get this awesome item. There's areas you would need a couple of people to get through the sheer quantity of ads that are in that area. There is a metric ton of ads in that area that you would need to cut through to get to that chest. And so it requires some cooperation, whether that's bring some friends to do it or just go and hang out. And I'm really excited to see this content go live. And I hope it works. I hope that the WoW player base doesn't need its handheld so much.
It's got it's got to work better than the hats. So
Yeah.
One would think.
cha-ching for them. All right.
Ka-ching.
We talked about world bosses, and the other thing that's on the island is the legendary cloak only boss, Ordos. So his deal is that if you want to fight him, you need to have a legendary cloak. We talked about this a bit last week. One of our hosts was not pleased, should I say, with this idea. And guess what? Just this evening, some community manager called Lore. Wait, god damn, if I had that ready. Why didn't I have that ready?
There we go. That's the one.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
He like posted or something saying that Blizzard had backed down on the restriction.
Right.
Here's what he said.
Right.
Wait, that's Bashiok.
That's not the right quote card
Uh-oh.
at all. That's last week.
That's last week.
F it. I don't have a quote card then.
It is in there.
He said, we're planning to change the restriction for access to Ordos to be account-wide, basically. As long as at least one of your characters has a legendary cloak, all of them should be able to access the encounter. So, Liv, are you happy now?
I'm happier. I'm more happy than I was last week, put it that way. But I'm not completely happy. I have increased in happiness somewhat.
Now, would you say that your happiness has increased a little bit now that you've been to the Timeless Isle and you've seen all the stuff that's there already? Because
my happiness about the Timeless Isle was never in question. My happiness about the mechanic required to get access to the world boss was always the issue.
But
and that really hasn't changed to some extent.
Right. But there are a lot of like big boss types on that island, and I don't think that you're necessarily missing out on a ton of content. It's just one world boss.
Sure. I mean, I think my objection, like, I don't think my main objection to it isn't really that you're missing out. I mean, that is part of the objection, is that people will miss out on content. Like, people who just don't have the luck to get the legendary cloak, or don't have the luck plus patience combo required to get this legendary cloak. You know, the lucky dice that you need to get the RNG to get all the runes and da-da-da. Like, they won't get to see it. And that's a shame. But, I mean, that, you know, there's who's going to get to see Heroic Raiden, and I didn't have an objection about that. My objection is actually more that it's going to be really hard for people to make groups. Like, you want to go, like, I don't know, when you kill Nalak in Dasta, when you killed Galleon, when you kill Shah of Anger. Is that the right Shah? But you took your friends. Like, my guild, we just be like, right, before each raid, we're going to go kill a world boss. And of my guild, I mean, yeah, okay, I'm in a super casual guild, don't get me wrong, but believe it or not, we're the majority, guys. The hardcore player isn't in the majority here. So on my guild, 2 people are on the legendary cloak quest. Two people are on the legendary cloak quest, and we've now just merged recently with another guild, so there's probably more in there. But of those people, like, some of them are not close to finishing it. So how they're going to have to put together a pug group, and it's not the end of the world. Don't get me wrong. Right. But it's just the difficulty of making a group, and the sort of, yes, you're going to have to go out into the world more. Yes, you're going to have to talk with people more. Yes, it's going to be more multiplayer. But is it, you know, it's kind of, I find that's the annoying bit for me. That's where I'm sort of about it. And this, as a result of that, this does make it better.
The nice part about 5.4 when that comes around as well is that all of those little things, the secrets and the blah blah blah, all the little things that you need to gather up for the legendary cloak, those are going to be more readily available. They're nerfing the drops essentially, so that you'll be able to get more nerfs, and you'll be able to get it through Throne of Thunder content instead of having to go all the way back to 5.0 and go through all those raids as well. So that's kind of a nice thing along the way. I'm not sure if it necessarily makes up for the fact that you feel slighted for not having the cloak and not being able to go to this boss, and that you hate the mechanic. But, you know, it is one of those things that
yeah, it's like swings and roundabouts. And like I say, I don't like, there is content with a gate behind it is fine. Like, I have no objection to content that not everyone gets to do. I think that's fine. I think that's even good. But I just think that it just feels sort of silly, and I don't like the fact that I think it's because it's a world boss. I have this notion that world bosses should be accessible. You should be able to just throw a group together and go and kill it. Like,
what about that? So you actually had the whale. Well, let's talk about that because you actually you managed to pull do a few pulls on the boss today. So
yes,
what was,
and this is part of my disappointment.
That's where I was going. I want to know. Like, so what do you think of the fight?
Yeah, well, okay, just quickly, I was like, pull the boss, and I went on, like, I got, the servers got shut down, got kicked out, went and looked at the blue tracker, part of writing legendaries, what I do, went and looked at the blue tracker, saw a post from some dude called Laura or whatever on the forums, and the legendary cloak thing, and because I just pulled Ordos, like, 4 times, and I don't have a legendary cloak. Dear
right.
Gamebreaker TV audience, have we met? I don't have a legendary cloak. And I was just like, oh, he's going to have posted that they've taken off the restriction. This is fantastic. I'm so happy. And then he posted that it was just account wide. I was like, oh, right. Sad panda now.
Well, so how did you get over to the place? Because the bridge is out. Did you do a little levitate action?
Do you know what I did?
I
totally clicked accept on a summon.
Oh, you did the hard way on that one.
Yeah, so I don't know, I was whispered by a friend of mine who was saying, we've got a group up here, and they'd done according to him, and I didn't see it, so unverified. According to him, a warlock had Eye of Kilrog, a demonic gateway their way across it.
Wow. Well,
God knows if that's true.
I saw a bunch of people kind of glitching their way over and doing the engineering thing and doing some levitation things and whatever.
Yeah.
So
no, I just clicked accept on a summon. Yeah, but what I'd heard from the patch notes was that if you pulled the boss and you didn't actually have the legendary cloak, like obviously the checkbox on your account or whatever, or on your character, that you'd be ported away. So I expected there was 40 of us pulling the boss. And I'd expected it to be the case that it would be so we 38 people would be portaled away or something, and that the warlock and the paladin would be left there going, oh god. But no, and we were all in. We were able to put in several pulls, and it was absolutely fine.
That's probably so they could test the boss, though, right? So
probably, yeah. And then what was happening was that he was being towed all the way around the island. He was literally being kited to the res area. He was literally just hanging out by the resurrection zone, just killing everybody.
So what do you think after a few pulls? I mean, do you think people are going to have trouble killing it with the legendary cloak restriction?
With the way that they've changed it?
They can bring alts without the cloak DPS? I mean...
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see. I think it's going to be quite dependent on the group sizes. Because, like I say, there was 40 of us. And there was the area where we were fighting him, because there was a ton of trash. He's you come into this big courtyard, which is just packed with trash. And then you have this big flight of steps you go up, and then he's at the top on a smaller platform. And he does a ton of ground effects. And what we probably should have done was killed all the trash and pulled him down into the big courtyard. But we were fighting him in this phone box. And it was kind of we were all getting owned. By the AoE on the ground, because there was just not enough space for 40 people to stand around the place and not get owned by the AoE on the floor. So I think you need a smaller group, so that's a good thing. But, I mean, it's got a 5-minute soft enrage, and by a soft enrage, I mean it's not actually technically an enrage timer, but he has an ability where after 5 minutes he kills everybody. So it's not actually technically an enrage.
There's medication for that. They can fix that these days.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely there's a heavy old DPS requirement there. With 40 people, our fight elapsed, our longest try took 2 minutes and 10 seconds, if I remember rightly, and we got him down to 30%. So that's 40 people. Do you know 40 people who've got a legendary cloak? Do you? Or who've got a legendary cloak on their account? And also, with the legend...
The legendary cloak isn't available until 5.4.
Sure. Okay, but they got to that phase. All right, smart ass.
Boom, blowing Olivia up. Sorry, it's not 5.4, it's not there.
They got to that phase in the quest where they're at the point where they've almost got the legendary cloak. Do they put 40 people who were there? They turned
the dial a little bit. I don't know. Is there a possibility that they just might remove the cloak restriction altogether? I mean, I know that's what Olivia wants. She just wants to hear that that's the answer. Just get rid of it, please.
It'll depend on what happens once it hits live, and once Blizzard sees how many people are fighting it and all this kind of stuff. We had some changes to other world bosses during Mists of Pandaria because of the way that it was being used, because of the way that people were fighting it, and so on. So I'm guessing that they'll be fine with it. That if it's just one boss that has a cloak restriction, as opposed to the other really large mobs that are out there that are classic world bosses like the whale that goes around just one-shotting people, and especially the celestial fights. I think those are really cool and really fun and different. So I think that there's enough diversity on that island. I don't think the people without a cloak are really going to miss it too much. So my guess is that they'll be okay with it.
Yeah, and I think there probably have to be a redesign of the encounter to some extent as well, because I don't think at the moment, I definitely don't think it's tailored to large group sizes. And, the sort of res and run back kind of mechanic, and it'll probably crash the servers and all sort of terrible, terrible things will happen. But there'd probably have to be an encounter redesign around it if they actually genuinely did take the restriction off. However, if they do actually see a really, really low number of people doing it, maybe they will. Like they redesigned Indasta. Well, they didn't, not a full redesign, don't get me wrong, but they did redesign elements of the Indasta fight to allow for the fact that more people, or too many people were doing it and it was crashing servers. So maybe they will see the error of their ways.
We shall see. Lots of errors this week. Lots of errors. All right, I want to talk about Proving Grounds, but first I want to tell you guys about Shutterstock. If you guys have not checked out Shutterstock, Gamebreaker TV has a new website coming. It's coming. Very, very soon. I know you guys have checked out the Cube World. New game, Cube World. It's all the rage. The kids love it. They think it's Minecraft for some reason. Not sure why. Anyway, we're building out the website right now. And we needed all kinds of little icons and crazy little things. Again, I tell you guys week after week. Seriously, you guys have a website, a blog, a YouTube channel. This is the key to making your stuff look really, really, really good. I immediately went over here. Let's see. I went over to Shutterstock and I searched. I needed little icons, and we wanted them to look like pixel art for the icons, to kind of fit the whole theme of the Minecraft thing. And there's tons of this stuff. Like there's tons of like cool like pixel art like this, and just little robots, but everything is all like 8-bit. That's pixel art. I need icons, which are less exciting than that pixel art, but I'm gonna type it anyway because that's what I looked up. But that's how. Yeah. Oh, actually, I bought this one. This is one that we're gonna use. So a bunch of these symbols. So what I'm using all these symbols for are all the little the little pixely the widgets and things like that, where you're clicking on guides or this, that, and the other. I'm not gonna sit here and make all these little pixel art things, but there's a ton of this stuff. There's icons, pixel art, there's caricatures. So you got an 8-bit retro show on YouTube, boom, you need a caricature. There you go. Why make it? Got it right there. Go over to Shutterstock.com. I want to save you guys 30% off. All you got to do is make an account. Make sure that you use the promo code GameBreaker with a number 7, GameBreaker7, and that's going to save you 30% off. I can't tell you guys enough. Everybody's doing media these days. Everyone's got a YouTube channel. Everyone's got a website, and we just use this every single day at GameBreaker TV for all of our stuff. Actually, now that I come to think of it, I'm pretty damn sure that if you guys have seen Super Mega Awesome Time, Smat, the whole entire intro, yeah, okay. That's all I gotta say. Shutterstock.com. Go over and use promo code GameBreaker7 to get 30% off on your account today and start making your website, blog, or maybe you just got a creative video project or something. Make it look good. You need to make it look good in the 2013. All right. So next up this week, Proving Grounds finally went live on the PTR. We only heard about this feature when I don't know, Mr. Pandaria went into beta.
Yeah, it's been a short time.
It's been very quick. Very quick.
It's like
for
72
to release.
Yeah, it was like 72 hours ago. So this.
Yeah.
They're finally here. They're finally playable. So they're Proving Grounds for tanks, healers, and DPS. And they're all located in the same room as the Arena of Annihilation. I got some B-roll here. So there's bronze, silver, gold, and endless difficulties. And in order to unlock the next one, you have to complete the one before. So to get to the endless mode, you have to have completed bronze, silver, and gold. That's the only way to get to it. Gear is scaled down to item level 463 to try and make a level playing field. And there are achievements and even titles for getting into the end of endless mode, which, despite being called endless, actually lasts for about 30 minutes. So kind of a little fib. It's not really endless.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't really have not have an end.
But 30 minutes? That's
a pretty long old time.
That's a pretty long.
It feels endless.
It feels endless. Yes.
Yeah,
both of you guys had a chance to check
endless.
these out. So what? Pat, I'll start with you, Pat. What did you think of it?
I thought it was pretty cool. I did I just had the chance to try the DPS stuff, so I brought in my hunter, and it was pretty cool. They had you do all sorts of different things that you would be called on to do during a raid, like AOE packs, and you'd be able to silence a caster and interrupt this other guy and blah blah blah, and do some kiting. And so it was actually pretty cool to do the DPS mode. I was trying to do the healing mode before the show tonight, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. It just was not meant to be.
Sad times.
But you did the healing mode, right?
I
Liv?
did. I actually went in and I was like, right, I'm going to try and do all of these. I'm going to try and do every single one, like every single mode, and basically just have a go at all the different ones. And I obviously, like, if anyone who's I main a healer, so my main is a resto shaman, but I also did the tanking one and I did the DPS one as well on a shaman. The tanking one I did on a paladin, because you can't tank on a shaman.
No.
But yeah, I actually found them. I found the healing, and the reason I mentioned is that I main a healer is that I found the healing one was a little bit on the easy side. But then I don't know whether that was because that's the sort of role I play the most by a long shot, or whether it was genuinely a little bit too easy.
She's just that good.
Maybe,
well, what was it?
Maybe
what was
I
the
am just amazing at healing.
What was the difficulty like across all the different roles?
I think it was. I've personally, like, comparatively, it's really hard to say and be sort of objective about it, because it's you were always going to be better at one than another. I thought that the healing was on the too easy side. The DPS was pretty sort of in the middle. The tanking one was actually quite tricky. And actually, like, I felt like, because I tanked up to Mogishan Vaults and then stopped, basically. From when I started playing World of Warcraft up to Dragon Soul, I tanked. And I then stopped in Dragon Soul, and then I tanked again in Mogishan Vaults, and then from that point on, I went as pure healing for PvE. So I'm a rusty tank. Relatively experienced, but rusty. But I found the tanking one really pretty tricky, so I was like, right, I'm going to speak to some other tanking people and just see what they thought of it. And I don't doubt that Trekkie already has every achievement that's available. Like, he's already done it. It's done. It's through. It's over. And he's just like, what now? And it's just like, well, but I found the tanking one was actually quite tricky, and other tanks have agreed with me on it. So I feel sort of vindicated, in my opinion, that tanking one was actually pretty tricky. And then a bunch of other healers on Twitter have been sort of saying, yeah, the healing one's a little bit on the easy side. So I know, I think there's possibly some disparity there. And what's interesting about that is that, as far as I understand it, people tanking is the kind of the thing that's standing in the way of queues for LFR, queues for, everything at the minute. People need more tanks. So surely, like, they should make the tanking ones less difficult.
I love this new thing.
Additional information here in the chat room.
And I'm just going to assume it's like a new thing, but I'm just going to start doing this. But I assume that if we have Blizzard people in our chat room, we can talk about it because they're chatting while live. So I'm going to put it into the show.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Lore basically in our chat room says, think of bronze as heroic 5-man's, silver as LFR, and gold as flex.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Pretty interesting.
That makes
It says
sense.
if you really want a challenge, go for endless.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's like that's perfectly reasonable, and that is reflective of what I've seen. Like, I was doing the endless mode, I kept getting freaking DC'd. I was so annoyed. The laptop nearly went out the window, I have to tell you. But it definitely gets quite, like, the first achievement in endless mode is at 10 waves, and I kept getting, like, it definitely gets entertaining around wave 9. I'll tell you that for free. And, like, the gold mode, which is actually what you can see on screen now, this is the gold healing mode. That was relatively straightforward. I had to, this is my shame, and you're watching, I had to use a cooldown in wave 10. I was ashamed. I had to use a cooldown. I was like, oh no, I can't look at people anymore. But yeah, definitely the endless mode was a different kettle of fish altogether.
So do you guys think
certainly
that
much more tricky.
after you've gotten some time in it, do you think it's a good, like, learning tool for new players? Do you think that's what?
Yeah, for new players, I think that this is going to be pretty good, actually. I mean, it'll teach you kind of, at least, for the DPS stuff that I saw, it was teaching you how to do single mob, multiple mob, like big packs of AoE, and also doing some other tricks and fun stuff that we get to do during raids. So, I mean, I think that at least on the DPS side of things, it was really pretty cool, and you had to move around, and you had to actually think. a little bit, and so it was fun. It was good.
Yeah, you also had to prioritize your targets, and had to you couldn't just spam AoE. It wouldn't get anywhere if you did that. You had to pick your targets, and the guys with the shields and the orbs, the kiting orbs thing. I thought that was really fun, actually.
Yeah, that was fun.
Kite the orbs around the place and ice block stuff with the orbs, and it was really good fun. I think it's definitely for the healing side of things as well. It's definitely a good. I feel like one of the things on my to-do list is to make a healer in a healing class I've never played, so probably a monk. And go in and just literally be right, so I've worked out, I've read my spell book, I've got all my spells in the place where they usually go on all my binds, and I'm just going to go in and try, just doing the proving grounds with a brand new healer and just see how that goes. And I think that'll be an interesting test to see how it is. I definitely think if I was doing that with a tank, even as someone who has tanked a lot, if I did that with, I did a Brewmaster Monk tank, I would find the tanking quite tricky with a brand new tank that I didn't know how to play. I sound like I'm really blowing my own trumpet here, but I feel like I've been a tank for a while, so I'm relatively okay at that. If I was a brand new person who'd never tanked before, I kind of feel like the bronze mode would be okay, wow, this is actually kind of tricky, and you would learn, but I don't know whether it's actually for a brand new tank it would be a bit too hard. I'm not sure.
How did you feel the class balance is? It seems like kind of a tricky thing here. Is that everyone's kind of doing the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think definitely there's I know there was, for the healing ones, there was some people complaining, for example, Monk's Mastery makes them drop these little orbs. They just sort of pop these little orbs all over the place, and they do heal when they expire. And the NPCs don't run into the orbs and pick up the orbs, and the NPCs don't click the light well, and people were complaining about that. So there's an element of that there as well, I guess. But I don't know. I think melee DPS would be at a disadvantage with these. What class you did on a hunter, didn't you, Pat?
I did it on a hunter. Yeah, and melee might be at a small disadvantage, but I thought that actually as a hunter I was almost at a disadvantage as well, because you actually have to maneuver around the room a lot more than what I thought, So it was kind of cool because they have those guys with the shields, and you have to get behind them, and so you're always kind of running around the room trying to make sure that you're staying behind these guys. It was pretty cool, but I found that I was a lot closer than I normally would be. During a regular raid, so it was kind of strange in that respect, but still manageable.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's you need someone who's competent at all of the classes that do one thing or something. There's a healer and a tank in my guild who play most of them. There's one of the girls, Alex, in my guild has all of the healers at level 90. Those are her 590s, and she raids regularly with everything but her druid, I think. And she's I just gonna say to her, right, can I just borrow you and just put you in this proving ground and see what happens? Because you need someone like that to really be able to make a good comment on whether they're easier or harder. So you need a genuine comparison.
Do you guys think that there could be a risk that guilds raid groups start requiring the proven title or the achievement, maybe even up to a gold level? Do you think that could kind of become a thing?
There's always stuff like this. I mean, people are saying, okay, well, how do you judge somebody? I don't think that this is going to be a great way to judge somebody. I mean, maybe it'll be okay, yeah, you kind of know your stuff, but really, do you know your stuff? Because we still don't know exactly what this is going to come out as on live. So once it comes out on live, and once we figure out exactly what kind of difficulty level it's at, especially if the tanking thing remains as difficult as it is, then maybe, but probably it's going to be better to just go raid with the guy and see how they do in a real raid.
I don't know. I can see this becoming a thing. I really could see this becoming a thing.
Yeah, but there's always a thing.
People like checks and balances. They like that little hey.
Yeah, but I mean also this isn't wow. Sorry, we're doing the chat room reading thing again. Law just said in chat room that the 30 waves of endless is really hard. I don't even think Trekkie could do it. Throws gauntlet. And I just waited for Trekkie to become it and be I've already done it, bro.
Oh, it's almost like he's still on the show. What's going on? It's
he says, I bet you're watching and kick me when I reached wave 27, says Trekkie. Oh, it's on.
Ooh, it's getting hot.
But yeah, and I don't think, I don't know, there's always going to be something that people require. There's always going to be something that people are oh, well, you can't come with us unless X, Y, Z. And if it's a measure of competence rather than a measure of gear, then I'm kind of down with that. But it's always going to be that. I think it's always going to be that as well. I don't know. But I mean, and also this isn't a measure of a raider. This is a measure of 5-man if you're a healer, solo DPS if you're a DPS, and some kind of weird 2-man difficulty if you're a tank. So it's not. This isn't a measure of raiding. This isn't. And raiding, like a lot of raiding, is cooperation. And your success in a solo situation is not very indicative of your ability to cooperate. Right. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why this isn't a good measure of success. However, there are also a whole bunch of reasons why healers aren't a good idea, and people still use them.
Right. So, and really, I mean, really, the important thing is that rating is also going to tell you whether or not the guy or girl is a complete dork. So why wouldn't you raid with them instead of just saying, hey, you got to get this achievement? So, I don't know. Yeah,
exactly. The best way to tell is someone is good at raiding is to take them raiding.
Right.
And go from there. But sure, this could be a thing which people could approach a guild and say, okay, look, I haven't done much progression this last tier, but look at my gear and hey, look, I've got this achievement. So I'm not terrible. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't hardcore raid. I'm not an accurate measure of these things.
All right, let's get to some viewer questions. This week's viewer questions are brought to you by Squarespace. Just talk to you guys about how you make your website look all pretty. Well, maybe you need a website. I'm telling you, check out Squarespace. It's the new engine. What they've got going on here is insane. You need a guild website. You need a personal website. You maybe want to post your guild videos. This, that, and the other. You've got to check out Squarespace. It is awesome. They make it super, super easy. You start out with all these awesome templates, super modern, clean design, like a modern website looks like in 2013. And they make the back end of these things super easy to customize. You can get in there, change all the images out, change, simple things. I don't know programming at all. So changing text weight and all that stuff is that's a chore for me. I have no idea how to do that. All of this stuff, it's easy. It's numbers, it's sliders, it's all intuitive. Anybody can make an awesome looking website with Squarespace. I guarantee it. So there's really no excuse. If you guys have a janky looking guild website, you need to get over to Squarespace and check it out today. I want to hook you guys up with a 10% off. So if you go over and make a new account over at Squarespace, go to squarespace.com, make a new account. Use the offer code GameBreaker7. You're going to get yourself 10% off. And I really think even if you got somebody in your guild I keep saying guild just because the show's around games, but if you've got somebody in your group or something about your website that even knows coding and how to really do some really cool stuff, they've built all of these things called hooks where it's open areas for you to inject your own code into sections of the site. So you literally can pretty much do anything. It's so flexible in that way that really no one else comes close to doing what they're doing. So whether you're a complete newbie like me and you don't really know what you're doing, it's awesome. Or if you really have some skills and you want to do some intricate stuff, you can do it. Check it out. Go over to Squarespace. They do everything, the hosting, the whole 9 yards. It's just super easy. You got a website. You could, after the show, you could have a website up and running tonight. No joke. Really glad to have these guys on as sponsors, and they're supporting viewer questions for this week. So, all right, let's do some viewer questions. We've got some video questions this week, which is awesome. Thank you so much. But we're always looking for questions, so remember, you can send those to submit@gamebreaker.tv. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/gamebreakertv. We also look for questions there. And this week, let's see, first up, I'm going to save the video questions. Let's save them. I got 2 video questions. I'll say those for last, but I got one that's supposed to have a quote card. I don't have a quote card. I'll just read it. Mark LeBlanc says, do you think the in-game shop should include only vanity cosmetic items or boost that have no impact on end-game content performance? If Blizzard need more revenue, do you think that raising the cost of subscription that has been the same for many years could be an option, or is that just impossible? I think the second part of your question is absolutely insane. That would be my opinion. So I just kind of spun that off into Neverland, because would Blizzard increase the cost of your subscription? No. A 10-year-old game going up in price?
Hell no.
Don't see that happening.
Hey, let's just shoot ourselves in the foot with that one, shall we?
Yeah, no. Really. Can you imagine if they did? I mean, it's like one of the arguments that's been coming out, like people sort of who are really supporting the cost of the hats, the extortionate cost of the hats, I should say, is that the price of the subscription hasn't risen in line with inflation or anything like that. Like it could be a lot more expensive. And it's like, can you imagine if they did that? Can you imagine if they were actually like, oh, by the way, we put the subscription up. Hi.
Right.
That would be idiotic. It would be completely idiotic. More idiotic than the cost of these hats.
What if they increase the price and they said that all future store items, cosmetic items, hats, pets, mounts, everything is included?
They could never promise that. They couldn't promise that. Like,
I'm making shit up, Olivia. Come on, it's what we do. What if they did it?
What if that's what they did?
What if they charge you 30 and they say everything, every mount, every
that would be such
helm, everything you just have it. You get it.
Based on the recent quality of the mounts, I wouldn't do it. I've really been unimpressed by the last two mounts. By the way, Blizzard. Speaking of being unimpressed with your shop.
If they did it incrementally, not $30, but maybe, like 20 or something like that, then I can see some people maybe going toward that, but not a lot. No,
they'd have to promise a mount a month or something like that.
I think as soon as exactly. I think as soon as you do that, you're opening yourselves up for disaster. Really. I mean, it's not going to end well.
Well, we need episode 136, so hopefully we can.
Right, so don't do it, Blizz. Don't do it.
Don't do it, Blizz.
We need more shows.
Right. We need more. No, I say do it. We need more disasters like this week.
Oh, we need more disaster. Okay, all right.
Do it.
Do it. Get involved.
Nobody says going to do it. All right, let's do a viewer question. This one is from Johnny.
Hello. The first question I have.
This is Eric. All right,
would
Eric.
be for Gary. What aspect of the game do you enjoy playing? We've heard the other hosts talk about raiding or PvPing, but I don't think I've heard you mention. Number 2 question I have would be, do you think that we need more PvP gear options? I ask because there's Crafted, there's Honor, there's Conquest, and I believe another layer of Conquest that's cosmetic. However, for PvE, there's heroic scenarios, LFR, normal raiding, heroic raiding, Thunder Forged. There's reputation gear, epic drops just for normal raids, crafted gear. There's going to be flex raiding gear, and I believe all of these could be upgraded twice. Do you think that anything like that could happen for PvP? I know not the upgrading part, but at least the additional gearing options. Thank you very much.
All right, so first up, what do I like about World of Warcraft? Since inception, I'm usually a PvP guy. Like I like PvP in most of my MMOs. For some reason in World of Warcraft, I loved vanilla open world PvP, but that doesn't really exist like it used to. I never really fell into into battleground PvP kind of stuff. So I mostly enjoyed just all the PvE stuff, just general questing and just doing that. Never been a hardcore raider. Just honestly can't even think about trying to work that into a schedule of being you gotta be here at 10 minutes. Forget it. It's lucky enough that I can get here for this show. Forget showing up for a raid. It's not happening. So I've never been a hardcore raider. So I really enjoyed most of just the questing stuff. And I'm kind of crazy like that. I would sit and read the quests and things. I know that's nutty, but I know it's ridiculous.
You put more quest text in. God, stop it.
But that's the thing. I didn't get into the other things, so that's always been my thing in World of Warcraft. It's not normally my thing in most MMOs. I tend to like sandboxy MMOs that have a bit more open world PvP and things like that, which I loved early on, went away. So I would say PvP is the aspect that I like most about World of Warcraft. So going back to the second part of this question, do you think that we need more PvP gear options? So Crafted in Honor and Conquest at the moment. PvE has heroic scenarios, LFR, normal, hardcore, Thunderforged, rep gear, crafted gear, flex gear. Holy shit, this list is it's ridiculous.
There's a lot of gear for PvE.
Yes.
So when you actually list it out like that, it's insane. And they're all upgradable twice, aren't they? So it's you've got all of those, plus 2 upgrade points for each one of those items.
So the question is, could this actually happen for PvP?
I think it would be good. I mean, especially if you can get some more introductory gear. I think that would probably be good. I just always think that there's for me being more of a raider, I always think of this kind of hurdle to get into PvP where I'm like, okay, can I get gear to go in there and do this stuff and be effective, or am I just going to go in there and just get smeared all over the place anytime that I go into a battleground of any kind? And usually, yes, I get smeared all over the place. That's what ends up happening because I go PvP a lot. But so I think that would be nice to have more gear options, especially for the more casual folk that isn't crafted or whatever. Just something more that was more effective, I guess, than a little bit more than raiding gear, but maybe not as much as conquest. I don't know. What do you think, Liv?
I don't know. I kind of looked at this question and thought, at first I thought, my goodness me, there is a ton of different gear levels for PvE. And my sort of next response was, the last thing PvP needs is more levels of gear. Like, there's crafted. And the one thing I would say is I think they've really messed up with the crafted, like the item level gap, crafted, honor, conquest. This expansion, it's just been all over the place. And they've actually PvP gear has been pretty crazy this expansion, and not in a good way either. In a sort of really way. And like the thing which they did where they brought in the upgrades for PvP, that was kind of disastrous, and that's why they reverted it. So that like the addition of more item levels is not what they need. They need to compact together like the tyrannical gear, the top end gear, the conquest gear is fine at the top. The gap between that and the honor gear is could be smaller, like it could be a bit smaller, but the gap between the honor gear and the crafted gear is completely nuts. And sure, you can, you're honestly better off to just rock up with your raid gear than you are to get the crafted gear, and you're probably better off to rock up with your raid gear than you are to take the honor gear, and that pretty much sucks. That's a pretty crappy situation. And so, in my opinion, the last thing they need is to add in more gear levels. They need to work on fix the existing gear levels, and then we'll talk about adding some more in. Because that
does seem to be a little bit of a disconnect, though. I mean, and that's kind of my frustration with it is, why does raiding gear beat any sort of PvE gear, especially even honored gear? I mean, who cares? Honored gear should beat out raiding gear, in my opinion. I mean, it just should. It just should perform better or whatever. So yeah, I think that. Yes, what you said makes sense too. I'll take that.
Yeah, I just think they should they don't need to put in any more levels. They just need to sort out the item levels of the existing gear a bit better. I know that Brian Halinka tweeted recently that there would be changes coming in 6.0, but there wouldn't be changes between now and then. And it's just like, okay, well, fine, we'll wait for that.
There's the theme.
There's the theme song. But yeah, it's just like, we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But I'm hoping that the changes will be that they're just going to mush the item levels together. I don't think we need we've got enough levels of gear, in my opinion. Like, the levels of gear that are existing are perfect. Let's not mess with those. And you've got the high-end Tyrannical Conquest gear, which is cosmetic only. Sorry, that's not the right name. But yeah, you've got that gear on the top, which is just pretty. And then, that's fine. Like, they don't need more gear levels. They don't need more confusion, more obstacles. Stop it.
Sorry, I'm laughing at chat. Guys got to show for a live show. That's all I'm gonna say. You guys show for that's like a whole different thing. I wish I could like have the live chat rolling along when people watch this on a replay, but it's just not the same thing.
Would be
show
cool.
for Thursdays at 8. You should show for the live show because there's some funny stuff being said in there.
Absolutely.
By Blizzard people. All right. So next up, this one in from Johnny. Let's see what Johnny has to say.
Hey, Legendary. My name's Johnny, and I'm from Seattle. So I've been a software developer for a few years now. But the very first project that I worked on was actually a World of Warcraft add-on, and it ended up doing pretty well. But once I graduated and got a real job, and real life just kind of kicked in, it was hard to justify spending much time on it. So I haven't really been able to maintain and support it like I would want to. So my question to you guys is, with Blizzard sort of increasing the sources of income for the game, what would you think if they incorporated some sort of like add-on store similar to like the Apple App Store where Blizzard would take a cut and developer would take the rest. I'm obviously biased, but I think it'd be an interesting way to motivate developers to really create some awesome stuff, and Blizzard could make a little bit of extra cash in the meantime. So I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. I love the show. Keep up the great work, and hopefully I'll see you again.
Well, thank you, sir, for the video question, because like I said, we love video questions. You got to send them in. They're so much more fun than me reading quote cards, aren't they? Send them in. Come on. So thanks. I think it's a really interesting question. I know initially people are going to go like, no way, no way, no way, because we're used to getting these things for free. But I don't know. Like, I've thought about this a little bit more, and I think this could be a really good thing. Now, what's interesting is if they did do something like this, what I'm thinking, I'm just going to this is all speculation, but what they could do is they could possibly even open up the API a bit more to develop, because they'd have to go through a vetting process, right? So they could, like the App Store, you have to send them through, a human has to look at it and it says, hey, if this doesn't work with our terms and conditions, we reject it. So if it was controlled in that way by a human being, they could then in turn even open it up even a little bit more and say like, hey, we can't think of everything what you could possibly do with this. And I think the motivation of developers being able to sell these things, like I said, I think for a lot of MMO players, the initial reaction, the knee jerk is going to be like, no way, I'm used to getting add-ons for free. I don't know if that would stop. Like the App Store, there's still tons of apps for free. You can still download apps for free. So I think you would still see that. But it may in turn also spark a whole, flood of really interesting things when people are motivated by, I mean, some of these guys probably spend like hundreds of hours maybe making one of these add-ons.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they could get compensated for it, and it's not just a cool thing. So I'm kind of for this. I think this could be a really cool thing.
It would definitely motivate developers to not only make some great add-ons, but also take care of them over time, because, I mean, it just makes sense, right? And yes, Blizzard could, scrape a little bit off the top of that if they wanted to. I don't know if that's necessarily, I mean, add-ons have always been the place for third party, for World of Warcraft. So it's always been kind of, Curse has kind of been the place where you get a lot of add-ons and other sites like that. And so I don't know exactly how the fan base would react to that. But I could definitely see it. The model can make sense if you wanted to. And it could be a good thing for developers to really kind of hone in and get some really great add-ons going. But I don't know if Blizzard wants to do it. I don't know if they want to
here's the thing, and I'm watching chat room while you're talking, and I'm trying to get the feeling, and people are saying like, it feels a little off-putting, especially with it being an old game, right? But what if it was the next game? What if it was Titan? What if they just laid the groundwork and they push this out the door like this? I don't know.
I know. It's like my knee-jerk reaction to it isn't entirely negative either. I can see that as someone who one of the things I do with my writing is I write add-on columns. I write columns about add-ons, and I have, as a result, a ridiculous number of add-ons. Over 150 add-ons installed. Wow. I don't use them. Let me just clarify that. I think I probably use about 20 or 30. But I have a ton of add-ons installed. So I'm a consumer of add-ons, and I often feel like, particularly when people are making some really cool add-ons and they're new and they're not getting a ton of traction yet, they're doing this for nothing, and it's they're doing it for donations and the goodness of heart. If you go on to particularly WoW Interface, if you go into WoW Interface and you look at that, a lot of them will have a donate button, and they don't get any money other than that. I mean, I think there's something where Blizzard will help people out with, I don't know if this is true even. I've heard that there's a thing where Blizzard will help people out with game time. But nonetheless, these guys are just doing this out of the goodness of their heart. And that's pretty cool. And, you should donate to your favorite add-on developers, by the way. You should do that. And it's why not let them be compensated for their work? I don't know. But then on the other hand, I can totally see that people would react incredibly badly to that. So maybe it's not such a very funny. If they do it in 2 years' time, when everyone stops freaking out about the cash shop, then maybe.
If it wasn't Blizzard that was doing it, I think people would not have that reaction whatsoever. They just go, oh, here's some cool add-ons that I can get. And that would be a totally different thing if it was separate from Blizzard completely.
And that's why I don't know if it's like a Blizzard thing though, or if it's a World of Warcraft thing. Like maybe World of Warcraft is like it's too set. It's very set. I say it's kind of set in stone, but look where we're going with it, right? With the hats, the in-game shop, like so it's still evolving and changing, and it's still like even things that people like yesterday thought was maybe impossible that they wouldn't go down this road. They are going down this road. So you can change. I think we live in that world now that we're used to that. I mean, the funny thing is that 80% of the apps are even on the App Store are free now. Like it's gone up, I think even to like something like 90%. I just read an article like I think today about that. I forget the percentage, but it's jumped another 20%.
It's free plus. Remember, it's free plus because then you have all the little microtransactions within the add-on.
Sure.
So
now, why that?
If you want DBM to tell you about AOE effects on the ground, you have to pay like 10 cents per time.
That's right. If you
not maybe that nickel and dimey, but what if there was what if a developer makes like a core add-on and it has add-ons on top of that? So it's like, hey, this does this, but if you want it, we've got these other 6 little add-ons, and hey, we charge you $1 a piece. You buy one, you add it on, and you have it forever. I don't know. I think there's so many interesting add-ons that people have spent so many hours making. Like I would love to see something like this. I think it'd be a great idea.
Right. Well, and some of the healer add-ons like Voodoo. I mean, if you've checked that out, if you're a healer out there, this is a really complex add-on that has taken into account a lot of different variables, and you can really manage your grid, your healing grid for making sure that you're at the optimum level, right? So, it's add-ons like that really do need, I think, a support system somehow more than just donations.
I think the big question is like how many. What's the install base of add-ons? How many are actually made? And then is there enough, is there enough profit basically built into creating the infrastructure to make something like this happen? Or is it kind of like still kind of a small subset for a game like World of Warcraft or anything to kind of not really cultivate enough money? I mean, you're seeing games like SOE's doing a lot with this. SOE's doing a lot with people being able to create in-game items, vet them through this service, and then basically sell them. I think it's coming to PlanetSide 2. They talk about EQ Next, all that kind of stuff. So I think gaming companies are very much paying attention to that, and what Apple did kind of seems to kind of translate quite well to the gaming market.
Yeah. I know. I think looking at things like a good example of this is an add-on, and I've literally just remembered its name. An add-on called I'm pretty sure it's Carbonite, which was this huge behemoth of a clunky, horrendous memory hog add-on. Which basically the developers of it, like I have this love-hate relationship with Carbonite, because people always ask me about it, and the developers abandoned it, and it was killing people's games because people, like a lot of people who used it, didn't realize it was dead. And like kept downloading it, kept using it, and I was getting questions every week about Carbonite. And this guy called Ryfal picked it up, and he couldn't use the original files because the developers had them locked down. And he took it and he made it all over again from nothing. He created this add-on from the ground up just because he loved it. And then he was saying, it's not my copyright. Please direct all your donations to the original developers. I'm just doing this because I want Carbonite to work, and I've just found these fixes that I can make, and I can just do it. And then the developers came back and they were angry and they were happy, and it was a lovely happy ending for everybody. And then Carbonite's awesome again. But that guy just did that out of the goodness of his heart, and he should get something for that more than just.
I agree. It's a touchy subject, but I agree. Olivia Grace, follow her on Twitter at Olivia D Grace, and of course join us every Thursday night for Legendary right here on GameBreaker.tv. Always a pleasure and great insight from Olivia D Grace. Pat Crane, follow him on the Twitter at Pat Crane. Of course, go over to converttoraid.com and check out his show there as well, and he has Spooky Monkeys.
That's right. That's right. It's all about the monkeys.
All about the monkeys. You can follow me at Gary Gannon. Follow GameBreaker TV at GameBreaker TV. And we do the show again next week, I guess. God damn it.
I guess we'll have to. Unless they manage to blow themselves up between now and then with more pet store hats.
Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about hats. The show just gets longer and longer. And now we're doing I'm doing post-show hangouts with the fans. So that's another reason why you got to show up live. Because after the show's off, I'm going to hang out with the chat room for a while and just kind of like talk and chat in the chat room. So we'll see you guys next week, Thursday, 8 PST. Mark the time, mark the calendar, and keep an eye out. A lot of good things to come. And we'll see you next week.